So Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petittis has put in a good word for the maize and blue. So this was revealed by Dan Wetzel of ESPN earlier today. He has advocated for the program, believes that enough is enough in regards to the number of penalties that have already been unleashed on the program. And so sent a letter to the NCAA Committee on Infractions, arguing that Michigan deserves no further punishment in a case focusing on the actions of course, Connor Stalions. And this letter was read at the June Infractions Committee hearing in Indianapolis. So I believe Kevin wants to tear into this one.
Oh Lord, I don't want to go after all the red meat. I want to leave some for my friends here. But I think that at some points you're trying to fly through the eye of a needle here. How do you keep your other 17 member institutions happy, and then how do you don't want to sit there and go scorched earth on Michigan, but oh wait, the Big Ten went to the unique steps to suspend Jim Harbaugh for half a day a week for 3 weeks earlier in the process when they put through their own suspension. Now, the reason I say half a day was he wasn't allowed to coach the team. That was it. He could game plan. He could do everything else. He could probably have team meal with him afterwards. He just couldn't be on the sidelines at that point. So, I think that there's a point of where the commissioner is going to come out and he's going to give mixed messages. There was something too that I saw on Twitter, and I didn't have a chance to really check the accuracy of this, that Jim Delaney came out and was supportive of Jim Tressel during the whole the whole tattoos for merch, that whole situation that ultimately led to his downfall. I'm not looking at this as in like that he came in as some sort of special witness for Michigan, for the defendants, and that this is really going to have much bearing, because ultimately the NC2A doesn't like to be lied to and jerked around and everything else, and that's all Michigan has done at this point. So they could bring Pope Leo the 14th, good Chicago native and everything else into the Council on Infractions, and I still don't think it's going to change anything.
Go ahead, Steve.
Well, I think it was kind of absurd when I first heard about it that he would weigh in at the 11th hour here and say, okay, they've been raked over the coals publicly for 2 years. That's enough. And you referenced the tattoo gate thing right there out of the box. Ohio State in 2012 was not eligible for postseason play or the bowl championship series championship game or any of that. They went undefeated. They would have played for the national championship that season. So if you break the rules, there need to be consequences. And I think that's the overriding thing. I think it was a formality. He did not attend the committee hearing, which commissioners a lot of times will attend those hearings, with the college and their representatives to try and put a positive spin on it, either with the committee or with the media. So I look at it more that he was doing his job, I guess, as the commissioner, more than he was advocating not that, his opinion should matter one iota to the committee. If a rule's broken, they're the umpire. They've either got to call ball or strike, and I think the rest of the Big Ten's waiting on him to call strike 3, rather.
I think there are a couple things to also keep in mind that when we talk about this case, Dan Wetzel, it would appear, gets generally his information from the Michigan side of things. And so he's going to get the best picture painted of what that letter is and what it says and what it means to say. And so I think that's something to keep in mind, that that may be one aspect of the letter. But as somebody on our message board posted, I think Kevin even posted this as well, when you're talking about further punishment, are you talking about punishment for the future, or like you don't want to see anything happen to the current team, but whatever happens in the past, you can go ahead and deal with. Is that an argument that maybe that letter is just about future and present rather than whatever you need to do in the past, go ahead and do it? Like, to be so adamant that for Tony Petitti to be so adamant that Jim Harbaugh needs to be dealt with, so Michigan needs to be dealt with. That was a Michigan punishment. They just had to punish somebody, so they punished Jim Harbaugh with that 3-game suspension. And then to think like, well, okay, now we're done. That's all we need to do. That's quite a jump for one person to be like, I need to do something now. This is what I'm going to do. And then after the fact to be like, yeah, that was enough. I think we've got it. So I'll be interested to see what that letter says. We won't see what we may see what that letter says, but of course your commissioner is also going to advocate for the teams in his conference. That's kind of his job. But like anytime you send a letter to somebody where you're like, I hope this letter finds you well, how often do you actually mean that? So I think there's some of that with this letter as well, where it's an obligation. But I'm also sure, I would also believe that he doesn't necessarily want to see Michigan's postseason taken away. Doesn't want to see them punished in a major way. Now, what I'd like to know, and I'm probably going to be asking some of the Big Ten coaches, is would you be okay with that? Now, the problem with asking is that we have no idea if they're going to want to talk. Most coaches aren't going to want to talk about it. Brett Bielema would probably talk about it, so that's one guy that to go after. But asking Big Ten coaches, do you agree with Tony Petitti, the letter that he sent, that nothing further needs to happen to Michigan? Because again, they're already on probation. They'll get probation tacked on for this. We know that. So, like, is that enough in their eyes?
So I'm thinking, we're here in late July. The NCAA has yet to unveil its findings and has not completed the investigation. Roughly 6 weeks ago, Tony Petitti is giving the infractions committee a letter. Unless he is privy to their findings and their research, which they have yet to unveil here 6 weeks later, then why does he have a leg to stand on to say that you have, penalized them enough? We don't know what the final verdict is going to be. We don't know what the final conclusion is going to be to all this investigation.
I think the thing there is Michigan knows what they're being accused of, and so does Tony Petitti. And you also know what those accusations generally lead up to in terms of what those punishments bring, because the NCAA has presented Michigan with their findings, and now this is Michigan arguing. The Committee on Infractions is Michigan arguing those findings, and then now you've got the time where the NCAA is like mulling things over, and Tony Petitti is just basically testifying. In a sense, the way this article is presented on Michigan's behalf in the form of a letter. But yeah, I think everybody understands what the likely penalties are right now. And so for Tony Petitti to say, hey, you don't need to do any further penalties, is that because he knows there are none coming, or because he knows there are?
I mean, why does he need to write the letter if he knows that there are none coming? I think it's more of a defensive.
To look right?
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, this television deal's got a couple years left on it, and they're probably trying to sit there and posture and take care of dollar figures and everything else. And while it's not necessarily a matter of filling bowl slots or anything like that, as we were kind of in our little pre-show meeting, we're talking about somebody bringing up. I mean, there's still a lot of financial irons in the fire here, but it's the same as when you go to court or whatever, and your mom comes in and reads an impact letter of, he was a good boy, he went to church every morning and he was good and he's learned his lesson. The judge may or may not consider that, but I tend to think that this is not going to be a very sympathetic court. And while Michigan will probably end up suing, because that's they've gone down the kicking and screaming hole the whole way on this. I don't know. I'm really disappointed we're only getting the 30-minute window with Petitti at the beginning of things tomorrow, when we know that 24 minutes of it are going to be filled with the most inane, stupid national questions from non-outlets in the world, and I should just not come down for that half hour because I'm just going to get angry.
Yeah, you're going to get really angry, I think, watching that play out. I think it was telling that he didn't attend it in person. And I think that there's been a lot of animosity for 2 years since he did take those steps against Michigan as a rookie commissioner way back 2 years ago. And I think the letter could be his way of trying to mend a fence. It's kind of like Archie Bunker, back in the old days, no, Tony, we don't want you to come to Indianapolis and speak on our behalf. Don't do us any favors, that type of thing. We're good without you on this one. So he just sent a letter. So there you go. I'm trying to keep an open mind about this, but he's going to get grilled about it. I think that's what's going to happen tomorrow.
Appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. Typically, we get together to talk Ohio State football Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Of course, Big Ten Media Days. These three will be in Vegas this week. Steve's already made his way to Vegas.